Last year, I got off the stage after doing a talk on autism acceptance at a mental health conference. I'm mentally exhausted, and I'm already questioning whether or not everyone thought that I sucked. Out of my peripheral vision, I can see a woman making hard, direct eye contact with me, and I can tell that she wants to speak to me about my presentation, but she seems hesitant to approach. Maybe it was that really dumb joke that I made about being unapproachable. Or maybe she can just sense how much I can't stand small talk. But either way, I know I need to ask for her feedback. I approached her, and with tears in her eyes, she let me know that my talk was the first time in her 70 years of life where she felt seen, heard, understood, and affirmed. She then asked me, "Do you think, given my age, that it's worth my time to pursue an autism diagnosis?" Can you imagine going 70 years of your life feeling so isolated and alone? Waking up every single day wondering what the hell is wrong with me and why has life felt so hard this whole time? My heart absolutely broke for her and for every other autistic person who has gone through their life undiagnosed, undiscovered, and without answers, relentlessly seeking and searching for meaning, belonging, and understanding. The CDC states that 1 in 36 kids is autistic, a rate that continues to trend upwards, especially as we have more access to research, education, information, resources, and of course, TikTok. Autism is a neurotype, aka brain type. It is not a disease or disorder that needs to be fixed or cured. But yet we still know so little about the autistic experience, aside from a few really bad infomercials and outdated research studies, most of which focuses on childhood experiences of young white boys. Guess what? Autistic kids grow up to be autistic adults. Surprise! I myself went 35 years before my autism discovery. Before then, my life was chaotic. It was confusing. It was lonely. And it was really fucking painful. Every day started with questioning my sense of belonging. Every day was filled with existential dread. There was never a time where I did not feel like I was on the outside looking in, never truly belonging to this world, even when surrounded by people who loved me. It was like everyone knew the rules to the game they were playing but me. Every day started with figuring out different ways to mask myself from society, to protect against bullying, or from having my weird, awkward ways pointed out and exposed. Masking always leads me to autistic burnout, but they coexist together to keep us hidden, to keep us safe, while further separating us from our true sense of self. A lot of autistic people say that they feel like an alien, like they never got a manual on how to do life, or like they never really arrived. Oftentimes, we've been called weird, different, quirky, eccentric, etc. Or we're told how flat we are emotionless robots who never get the joke. If you're like me, you've been called hard to read, standoffish, rude, blunt, or dismissive. But in reality, we are so often experiencing a wide range of emotions, but we so often struggle to feel connected to our bodies and have such an unbelievably difficult time processing sensory stimuli that it makes it almost impossible for us to react in a neurotypical way without masking. Like, what do you mean I'm supposed to smile when I open presents? And all we really want is connection and understanding. Since my autism discovery, it's like things have finally started to make sense. Like I got to read and write the instruction manual for myself. The lens through which I now view the world has become crystal clear and has not only allowed me to accept myself for who I am, but to build in accommodations that make my life 1% easier day by day. I finally understood why on the first date with my wife, when she very clearly wanted a kiss goodnight, I misread the situation, gave her an awkward side hug, and ran away. Discovering that you're autistic later in life can be unbelievably liberating. It can help you break free from the only mold you've ever known, and it can be uniquely validating. You finally begin to get some answers to an entire existence filled with misreading subtle social cues, experiencing constant sensory overwhelm, feeling repeatedly misunderstood, all while masking your true self for the benefit of others, just to try to fit into a society that wasn't designed for you. You finally realize that you are not broken. However, a late-in-life autism discovery can also lead to intense emotional reaction and fallout. All of the effort and energy that you've used to mask your autistic traits can create intense periods of autistic burnout. Oftentimes, an autism diagnosis can feel a lot like it gets worse before it gets better. And this is compounded by the fact that there is so much misinformation and misunderstanding about the autistic experience. No, not everyone is a little bit autistic. And no, we are not seeing more autistic people because it's popular or because people are looking for a handout. We're seeing more autistic people because we have more access to information and education. We have always been here. We live in an ableist society, so we inherently experience our own internalized ableism that becomes deeply rooted and ingrained in us as we venture into adulthood. Things like, and has us messed up, sorry. We live in an inherently ableist society, and one that is not designed to support autistic people. Some common myths and misconceptions sound like all autistic people are geniuses or savants. Autistic people lack empathy. Autistic people can't be social, or autistic people can't make eye contact. No, not every autistic person is the same. The autistic journey is not a binary one. We all have our own unique strengths and individual support needs. But we do live in an ableist society, so we inherently experience our own internalized ableism, which becomes deeply rooted and ingrained in us as we venture into adulthood, which creates a shamefulness about who we are and why we experience the world this way. And as we venture into adulthood, this internalized ableism becomes deeply entrenched and has us fighting an often unconscious battle within ourselves, excusing away what we're sensing, feeling, and experiencing. A lifetime of masking that completely separates you from your sense of self, right up until it becomes too much to bear. Some ableist comments that I've made about myself are, I'm too high functioning to be autistic, but I have a master's degree. I own several small businesses, but I can make eye contact. But no one sees how hard I have to work to get through my day. No one sees the hours that I spend in darkness of my own home, unable to speak, function, socialize. No one sees the deep, dark depression, the autistic burnout, and the unrelenting feeling that I don't belong. These stereotypes are reductive, and they are often dismissive of the autistic experience, of any and all accommodations that we need to build into a daily basis. Things we learn as undiagnosed children that we carry into adulthood, camouflaging, masking, and pushing ourselves to the brink of destruction from nonstop autistic burnout. If you're discovering that you're autistic later in life, it's likely that you've had to come up with different survival strategies to help you get through the day without ever really understanding the why. And without this understanding, it's likely that you're still struggling in many areas of your life, and that you've tried a never-ending list of tips and tricks that continues to fall flat. If you're like me, you've tried doctor's visits, mental health therapy, and medication, or you've done endless late-night deep dives online, only to feel more confused than when you started. Or maybe you've even been asked my favorite question by your therapist or doctor: have you tried mindfulness or meditation? Unfortunately, for many undiagnosed autistic adults, they go through their lives wondering what is wrong with them, constantly questioning, why do I feel so different, broken, or defective? One study showed that 41% of people who died by suicide in England were autistic or had autistic traits. Let's let that sink in for a minute. But what if society were more neuro-inclusive and able to support autistic people? If we didn't have to fight so hard to feel understood, to get our needs met, or to protect ourselves from bullying, harassment, and discrimination, would we actually feel like we were made for this world? I spent so much of my life feeling broken, defective, disconnected, depressed, lonely, and suicidal. I spent so much of my life masking my pain through a hellacious gambling addiction. Dr. Megan Neff said one day on our podcast that the soul yearns for connection, but the body yearns for isolation. Truer words about my autistic experience have never been spoken. I don't want autistic people to have to go through their lives masking who they truly are and without answers, because the reality is that they don't have to. Whether you pursue an official diagnosis or self-diagnose, your autistic journey is valid. It's your own. And once you realize that you're autistic, you can start building in accommodations to help you with your sensory system and preventing autistic burnout. Knowledge is power, and the more that you know about yourself, the more you can support you and your environment. Since my autism discovery, I've learned so much about how to build in accommodations and supports into my daily living. I've learned so much about my autistic existence, and finally realized what I need to feel affirmed and successful. Things like setting boundaries with sensory preferences, societal expectations and experiences, and my own capacity are all extremely vital to me. I finally realized to accept my limitations, to support my executive functioning, and to unpack my own internalized ableism. I really do not want to go another day having a conversation with someone in their 70s who has felt like they have to go through their lives feeling unseen, unheard, misunderstood, and disregarded. I really don't want to have another conversation with someone who feels like they don't get to play the game that the rest of the world gets to enjoy. If you felt like I had for so long of my life, different, broken, defective, lost, it's absolutely okay to ask for help. It's scary to get started, and you deserve to feel like you belong. The end.